Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. I am Adam. This is the Aftermath Live, and the morning after, the afternoon after, the night before, where Manchester United beat Norwich City after extra time to seal a place in the FA Cup semi-finals with the first team in the hat. We're going to find out who will be joining us today, as we have many fixtures in the FA Cup, the likes of Leicester, Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, Sheffield United and Arsenal. And we will have our United Daily Live today at around 7:15, 7:30. So it will coincide with the FA Cup semi-final draw, and we'll find out who United have here on AdamMcKola TV Live. But here today, we're here to look back at the game that saw United in the hat for that FA Cup semi-final draw, and of course how we beat Norwich in the end. It wasn't easy. Odion Ighalo made 8 changes, but when you look at the simple stats from the game, 66% possession, 36 shots, 8 of those on target, 12 corners, 12 fouls for United. Norwich had 1 shot on target. That shot on target went in. And I think there was a period in the first half, I think it may have been just after 90 minutes, where I think, there were 2 shots on target and they had both gone in. It showed you what kind of game it was for Manchester United. It was a very clunky performance. A lot of pace was taken out of the team. A lot of fluidity was taken out of the team. And even those players that, Bruno Fernandes, for example, who's been magnificent for United, since his arrival, he didn't have his best of games. He still had a decent game. He wasn't disastrous, but things didn't go right for him throughout the game. And you could just tell it felt like the changes had an impact on that. And of course, a lot of players that had come into the team, they're either out of form, out of match fitness. It was their first start. You could excuse the performance. And one of the things about Manchester United is, for the last couple of years, there's been times where we've had performances like this. There was times when during the game I felt like we're losing this game. We're not going to be winning this game. It's going to be very, very difficult. But we managed to get through. And I just felt, even against 10 men, Norwich were growing in confidence. They looked like they were just trying to get to penalties, and Tim Krul in penalties would have been a difficult player to overcome. So fantastic that we got through. Harry Maguire with a captain's goal for Manchester United. And it was a goal. I seen Anthony Martial cheekily trying to claim an assist for it. But it was a goal that we deserved it. We deserved it at the end. We were really going for the goal. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had chucked on Mason Greenwood, Martial, Pogba, Rashford. We had Ighalo on the pitch. We had literally every striker we could. We chucked them on the pitch, and we went for it. In the end, we got the result. It wasn't a great performance, but that's all you want in the FA Cup. You want to get through. Now we have to perform better against Brighton. We have to perform better in the semi-finals, and hopefully in the final if we get there. And we have to perform better in the league going forward. And it was an opportunity for some players that came in, the likes of Dalot, Lingard, etc., Mata, to stake, a claim for a place in that first 11, that first team. And some of them will feel disappointed with their performances. They won't feel happy with the way they performed because, although they haven't got that match sharpness, I don't think any one of them really said to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you have to start me against Brighton, or you have to start me in one of the next league games. I just didn't get that impression. So we'll be looking back at the game. We'll be getting all your thoughts on the match as well. Make sure you're keeping your thoughts coming in. I can see you guys all in the comments already. We got Eric Ronaldo, we got Aaron, Paul B, Michael Jones, Sean, Ross is in the house, Daryl, Tom, Cannonballer, Henry, Jay Reedy, Indiana, Arjun's in the house, Gustav, Rebecca, Simon's in the house as well, Sam G, Uzer is in the house as well. We got loads of you guys joining us, so thank you very much for getting involved. Gustav says, would be cool if we hijacked Leroy Sané for a Brighton, but it's just not going to happen, is it? Man City wouldn't sell him to us if it was the last thing they'd do. Epic says, do you think our big issue is squad depth? I think something that we're going to see over the next couple of weeks is obviously United experimenting with a few players as well, possibly, and thinking, has this guy got a future at United? Because there's still a few players there that can't be sure. Beyond the first 11, maybe 14, 11 to 15 players. You know, there's still big spots in that squad to be fought for. So I have no doubt Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be looking at his squad in that manner. Right, let's do a quick on this day before we do move on. Like I said, make sure you're hitting that like button, make sure you're commenting, you're sharing and you're subscribing. We've set a new target of 200 by the end of August. 200 members by the end of August. We're on around 109 at the moment. So thank you very much to all those that have joined us on AdamMcKola TV. We're very close to hitting that target again, but I need your help, of course. What's the date today? The date today is the 28th. So on this day in 1998, legendary French defender Laurent Blanc, who would arrive for a 2-year spell at Manchester United 3 years later, scores the first golden goal in World Cup history. The new rule, which sees teams seal a victory if they score the first goal in extra time, enables France to defeat Paraguay 1-0 in Lyon to reach the quarter-final of their home tournament. So that is what happened on this day in 1998. We're in the midst of France 98. One of the first World Cups I could really remember. I was 5 when, you know, the USA 94, and I have little memories of that, but not a whole lot memories of that. And then the World Cup 98 is the one that I can properly remember being involved in emotionally. Euro 96 as well was obviously magnificent. But Laurent Blanc, I remember Fergie had chased him for so long, chased him for ages, and then eventually got his man. But you know, it didn't look likely for a long time, did it? It didn't. But when he came, it was like, shit. Should we have done this? Should we have really done this? But we did. So there you go. Any talking points from the game that you want to discuss today? Anything that you want to, you know, talk about that we didn't talk about in the fan cams yesterday? Obviously, when you look at the 8 changes that we made, we spoke about whether it was Jesse Lingard's last chance for Manchester United. He started the game well, first 10-15 minutes, and then fizzled out of it. That could be down to match fitness, or it could just be down to his form. And he wasn't good enough. We'll see the player ratings later. I'm sure he'd admit it himself as well. He wasn't good enough on the day, and you have to fear for some of these players because, look, United are moving in one direction, and that's that way. And, you know, we need to find out whether certain players are coming with us or not. And these players, when they get opportunities now, they have to take them because the competition in the squad is massive. When you look at the players that came off the bench yesterday, and you look at the likes of, you know, Pogba, Rashford, Greenwood, Marshall, then you got Daniel James, who wasn't involved as well. You know, players coming through the ranks, you know, potential signings coming in. Odion Ighalo started. You got Juan Mata out there. You got all these different players, and you know, you've got to, if you're going to get in there and you're going to start playing, you need to start performing, and the room for excuses starts dwindling. So, you know, these players had to put in a big performance. I thought Diogo Dalot was poor yesterday. You know, Aaron Wan-Bissaka wouldn't have been bothered by his performance. Again, though, it's like a game that he's not had in a long time. I thought Eric Bailly did well in his return. I was really impressed with his performance for his first game back. I thought he looked really good. And I hope to see Eric Bailly starting again in the future. He probably won't start against Brighton. But I hope to see him start the next Premier League game after that, because I think he's a fantastic player, Eric Bailly, and I think him and Harry Maguire could be the partnership that we go with. Can I just thank Kit Walcott, Pratolia Singh, Stu Nix, Brixton MUFC. Those are the last 4 members that have joined in the last couple of days. As I said, we're now on 109, 91 away from that target that we have set by the end of August. Again, Brighton will use a low block, and using only Pogba may not work. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer mentioned after the game that he left certain players on that he knew would be fit enough to play in that Brighton game, so he didn't seem overly concerned that some of those players wouldn't be available for that game. So I think he's mainly talking about probably Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire when he does speak about those players. And I think Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes may be the only players that start on that day, that started that game there. I'd imagine that there'd be a whole host of changes for Brighton. David De Gea coming in for Romero. We'll talk about that goal in a minute. Do you think Romero should have saved that goal? Do you think we could have done better on that goal, Fred and Maguire? obviously were around Todd Cantwell as well when he scored. So we'll obviously, expect to see a change in between the sticks. So that's one change, David De Gea. Wan-Bissaka's going to come back in at right back. Harry Maguire will keep his spot. I expect Victor Lindelof will come back in. You may rest Luke Shaw. I don't think he played well against Norwich, but you could possibly see Luke Shaw coming out. So that's still 3 changes potentially at the back. In midfield, I expect we're going to see Matic and Pogba coming in for Fred and McTominay. So there's your 5 changes already. Bruno will start, I think. And then you're looking Martial, Rashford, maybe Danny James or Greenwood. So you're looking at potentially 7-8 changes again to the team, in preparation for that Brighton game. So you're still freshening it up a whole lot around Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire. And I imagine they'll probably be the 2, that played that 120 minutes that will be involved. So there'll still be plenty of changes. But the quick turnover in games mean we need to be hitting the ground running again. 14 games unbeaten now as well. It's a pretty good record for us. Michael says keeper was at fault. Have to rest Luke Shaw, says Sean. Let me see what's going on here. Sean says hit that like button as well. Yeah, guys, get hitting that like button. Do us a favour. David's in the comments. Thank you very much, David, for getting involved. He says, do you think that the squad has raised its overall skill set as a whole, and the support players like Jesse and Delo just don't cut it now and are being exposed? It could be a case that I think it's difficult for Delo because he doesn't get much game time because of Aaron Wan-Bissaka so good, and he's had a few injuries, so his recovery's never be enhanced by playing football. He needs to play football regularly, but I still hold a little bit of hope for Diogo Delo. The problem is Aaron Wan-Bissaka for him. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a massive talent, and when he's playing there, you're not going to get much game time. But Jesse Lingard, on the other hand, Andreas Pereira, Juan Mata, players that have had plenty of opportunities, and for whatever reason, either they've had their best years behind them, they need a fresh start, or maybe in Andreas Pereira's case, he's just never quite cut it at the first team level for United. Those players may now start to look a little bit more suspect. And then you might start to see, alright, United thinking, do we move these guys out of the squad? Because if you look at it, Daniel James wasn't in the squad yesterday. We could potentially bring in a few younger players from the first team squad. If you're making signings, that means you've got a few players that are the odd one out. And they're going to have to leave to get first team football. Unless they just want to sit on the bench at Manchester United, or worse, in the stands. And I don't think the calibre of players that United have in their squad would be happy to do that. We might have overpaid on Maguire, but you know what? You pay that money for moments like that, says Ross Murphy. And it was a big goal from Harry Maguire. He drew a save out of the goalkeeper about 10 minutes before he scored, I think. I might be wrong on the timing. But he drew a save out of Tim Krul, and it was a fantastic save. And that he got up and you just thought, yes, this is the goal. And then he brings out that great save and you think, fuck, this is their day. Tim Krul's growing in confidence. They're not going to concede. United are going to keep knocking on the door. They could hit us on a counter, but they're going to win it on penalties. And when you just saw that save, and then we still got it back, and he didn't move out of the box. We were kind of settled in that sense. Oli made a sub when he brought on Martial. And you were thinking, who's he going to bring on for him? And he brought Martial on for Eric Bailly. He capitalised on the fact that we were playing against 10 men, and he threw on an extra striker. We had Harry Maguire in the back, so we almost had, Greenwood, Martial, Ighalo, Bruno, Pogba, all these attacking players, and Harry Maguire then chucked into the middle of that as well. I think Luke Shaw was floating around in the box, like it was fully jam packed in there, and we kind of maybe crowded ourselves out a little bit at times as well. But then when you look at the goal and where it come from, poor Pogba, he looks like he's going to go for the pass to Harry Maguire, and he just pushes it into the near post. Odion Ighalo then sees Anthony Martial's running towards him. He's got 2 defenders on him, but his pass was very good to Anthony Martial. It went into his path. Martial gets a touch on it, trying to bring it down through the defender to then get a shot away. But the defender kind of gets a deflection on it. Martial gets another deflection on it, and it goes to Harry Maguire, or into that area. He still has to tackle to get the ball, but he wins the tackle cleanly, doesn't take the man. and it's perfect. It's like a proper defender's goal and a striker's goal in that sense. He tackled it in, but he was in that area, in the 6-yard box, like a striker. And when you looked at the celebrations of those around him, it was just great to see. You know, the likes of Martial with the beaming smiles on her face, Pogba, everyone just delighted that we got that goal. And there seems to be a massive sense of team spirit at the moment. You know, even when we're playing badly, we're churning out these results. And you kind of feel that a bad result or a bad performance isn't going to define this team. It's not going to define them. They're going to bounce back from it. They're going to be able to come back and put in a performance. And that's great to see as well. You know, I think Ollie's doing a really good job at the minute. He deserves some criticism. And I think some people could argue, you know, should we have top 4 already? Or, you know, is the team too reliant on players rather than a system? But I think that's a little bit disrespectful. I think he's done a very good job so far. Next season's when the true test will come for him, and the tail end of this season. But I think next season, when we've maybe had a summer of signings and you've got no excuses in terms of your squad, then that's when we're going to really see the best of or worst of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I believe. But for now, for the job that he's doing a fantastic job, and the team spirit's really there. The performances aren't always there, but we're getting the results at the minute. And that's great to see as well. So long may that continue. Of course, we have got player ratings coming up for you very, very soon as well. We're going to read a few more of your comments. Why isn't Mengi on the bench when we're short in centre-backs? Nearly, not sure, but he has been involved in training, so hopefully we'll see him towards the back end of the season. I suppose Ollie probably doesn't want to be going too mad with you know, the bench and things like that. 12 points from our next 4. I'll have a look at our next fixtures in a couple of seconds. I know Brighton's one, but we'll have a proper look at them in a bit. Cheers for your comment, Adam. Bulla says Mason Greenwood's too good for his age. Man made things happen once he came in. He's really good, and I'm glad that he's going under the radar, Mace, because there's so much talk about Bruno, Pogba, about, you know, Rashford, Martial. He goes under the radar, and that's magnificent. That's what you want to happen, because he can still put in his performances, still, you know, get his appearances, get his experience, and go under the radar. There's not that pressure there if he does have a bad performance. But yeah, he's looking really sharp when he is playing. He deserves a goal since our return, to be fair to him, which he hasn't got yet. But I'm sure a goal isn't far around the corner for Mason Greenwood, and maybe that will come against Brighton. Delo would be a better backup winger rather than playing right back, says Excite. Bailly is rusty, says Michael, but I still think he stood out, even though he is rusty. Thank you for being pragmatic and showing Ollie's support. He does deserve credit for his positive contribution, says Sam. I'll say it how I see it. I'm always going to say it how I see it, but you know, I'm one of those people that wanted Poch, but we never got him, and I'm not going to use that against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, just like I was someone that wanted Ronaldinho, and when we didn't get Ronaldinho and we got Cristiano Ronaldo, I didn't think, fuck this one trick pony, I wanted Ronaldinho. You get behind whoever you've got, whether it's a manager, whether it's players, whether you like them or not, whether you think they're good or not. You just got to get behind them, and you got to say it how you see it. You've got to be fair. You can't let, you know, I think a lot of people in this industry get caught up in, you know, I can't be seen to be wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong, bro. You're a fucking football fan or a football pundit or football, like, who cares if you're wrong? There's nothing wrong with being wrong, as long as you can admit it, as long as you can hold up your hands and say, yo, I was fucking wrong, have a laugh about yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. I think people that try and then bend the narrative of things that are happening in front of them to try and accompany their opinion. So for example, if you're Ollie in or if you're Ollie out, so, you know, if you're Ollie in, you're always going to look for the positive and everything. You know, fucking, even when it's not really there. Same with the opposite. So if you're someone that thought we need to get Ollie out, and you're not moving from that, and you can't see the good that he's doing, you would look at yesterday as we played the bottom of the table against 10 men, and we didn't score a goal until the last minute or something. That's shit. It's like, what? I've seen performances like that under Sir Alex Ferguson. I've seen performances like that under various different managers for United. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Good teams do churn out results. How many times do we watch Real Madrid or Barcelona, or even, let's look at the Premier League now, Manchester City or Liverpool. There's games where they don't perform against teams you expect them to beat, but then they'll be losing or drawing, and in the end they'll win. And you'll think, fuck's sake, I was looking forward to watching these bastards lose today. And that's how United used to be. And there's nothing wrong with getting back to that, scrapping through a game sometimes and getting a result. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, and in the whole, when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you want your team to be playing a brand of football that is positive and is easy on the eye. And, you go out there to attack, score goals, win games. And if that's the case 70% of the time, 75% of the time, you're not going to complain. So when it is that 25%, don't start trying to flip it on its head for something that it's not. Do you know what I mean? Mental. Get it. I just don't get that. Adama or Sancho? That's a real easy question for me, Paul. And it would be Sancho all day long. I thought Bailly was good. He can be a nutter at times, but he's our nutter, says Rebecca. I still back Ollie 100%. I just didn't get the starting 11 yesterday, says Ross. He stuck with the starting 11 that he was going to use pre-lockdown, and I think that may have affected things, but you can understand why he did that. He had offered, these guys were going to get an opportunity. He had told them before, and he had stuck to it, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. Sticking to your word. He gave those players an opportunity. It didn't blow up in our faces. We got through, and some of them maybe proved that they didn't deserve that opportunity. But nevertheless, let's move on to the player ratings. Now let me bring them up here. There they are. I can't remember what I did last night, but here we go. Here they are. Anyway. So, I've gone with Romero, giving him a 5. I don't think he had much to do at all. And with what he had to do, maybe he was a little bit sloppy on that one. So I've given Romero a 5. I've given Dalot a 5 as well. Don't think he was good enough. Don't think he was bad, but I don't think he was good enough yesterday. I've given Maguire a 7. Obviously, he got a captain's goal. Came into his own in the second half of extra time. I thought him and Bailly were quite similar to each other in their performance levels, but obviously when you're getting a goal and you're getting the winner, you're going to have a little bit of a boost to your performance. I thought Eric Bailly was pretty good, and I give him a 6. Luke Shaw got a 5. I don't think Luke Shaw was great going forward at all. Didn't really look troubled defensively. McTominay a 6 and Fred a 6. Again, average performances from them in midfield. I didn't feel enough there. Where is Matic actually? Shit. I forgot to put Matic on, haven't I? I thought Matic was good as well. Bruno a 6. Yeah, Lingard a 5 is generous, isn't it? To be fair. There's probably a few generous scores. I think Lingard and Shaw, Romero, Dalot, probably. Ighalo got a 7. Obviously, he scored the first goal for us, as well as, get this. He would have scored if he wasn't brought down and they got the red card. So he won the red card, and of course, he looked pretty decent. I'd probably give him our man of the match as well. Williams a 6, Rashford a 5, Greenwood a 6, Pogba a 7, Marshall a 7. That's probably generous for those two, but I thought when they came on, they changed the game for United, and they looked really good with what they did. Anthony Martial looked really good and really positive as well. Nemanja Matic looked good too. I probably would have given him a 6 or a 7 for when he came on. But those are my ratings. Solskjaer gets a 6. Probably would have been a 5, but if it went to penalties. But we got through in extra time. He gave people an opportunity, and there you go. You can't really complain. But I may have been a little bit generous with some, a little bit harsh with some. I'm not too sure. But let us know what you guys are thinking in those comments below. Right there. So those are the player ratings. Rashford needs to buck up too, says Waves. He didn't have a very good game, did he? He wasn't great at all when he came on. But again, he's not long back from injury, and I think we've got to give him a little bit of an opportunity to regain his form and regain his feet. Behind the headlines, how you doing, mate? Hope you're doing well. Sure, a 6 or a 7, says Jacob. and he says Lingard 3. Arjun says Lingard and Shaw are 4. So it shows you, like, you got Jacob who says Shaw gets a 6 or a 7 and Lingard gets a 3, and then you got Arjun who says Lingard and Shaw gets a 4. So it's obviously like opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. My man of the match is Ighalo too. Not too much to choose from. Says, well, hello there. I think actually Shaw gets a 6 because he did do a couple of good things. I think there was obviously the recovery challenge. Was it in the first half of the game? But he did a very good recovery challenge and got back. But it just makes you think, why aren't you using that pace to go forward? Get into their half, get into their box, get into the final third, commit some men forward. And I just think Brandon Williams does that more. I think, yes, Brandon Williams has his flaws, and defensively, there's still question marks there. But I think ultimately he has a higher ceiling. I don't think there's any more to come from Luke Shaw. I think this is the end product. And whether you can blame that on his injury, you can blame that on, whatever. But ultimately, it is what it is. And I think this is the end product of Luke Shaw now. That's all right for a squad player. But when we're playing teams that are just sitting back and wanting us to fucking attack them, and you're not getting to the byline, it's frustrating to watch, you know what I mean? You've got to bomb on. Now, I know this is the Aftermath Live, but let's check out some of the latest news. We will have a United Daily Live later on today, which will coincide with the FA Cup draw, so make sure you're keeping it locked for all that good stuff that's coming up later on today. Let me just see now. Any latest news? Declan Rice, who's been linked with Manchester United an awful lot, has been linked with Chelsea, which is music to my ears. The Daily Mail says Oli Solskjaer told he must sacrifice 4 United stars, including Jesse Lingard and Alexis Sanchez, to land Jadon Sancho. The players that are under... I think it's expected that we'll sell some players anyway. Alexis Sanchez, one of them. Chris Smalling, another one of them. Look, these are the players that I think are in danger of leaving. Chris Smalling, Phil Jones, Andreas Pereira, Jesse Lingard, Alexis Sanchez, Marcus Rojo. So 6 players, and I think 4 or 5 of them will leave. I think one of Andreas Pereira and Jesse Lingard will stay. I think they'll probably just wait to see which one of them leaves. And if we do sign someone like a Kai Havertz or a Grealish or someone, then I think they'll both leave. But those are the players. I know this is a story which is saying United have to sell these lot to sign Jadon Sancho. I don't think that's the case, but I think you do have to balance your squad out. So if you do sign Jadon Sancho, you do have to balance your squad out and then, sort it out elsewhere by letting go of players, and players will think, I ain't going to get the game time here. Anyway, if you sign Jadon Sancho and Jack Grealish, I think Andreas Pereira and Jesse both leave. I think if you sign Jadon Sancho, I think just one of them leave. And it depends what happens with Angel Gomez as well. Obviously his contract expires shortly, in a couple of days. There's still no news on whether that's been signed, although there's been various reports and rumours either way on that one. Declan Rice will be a good centre-back, but not a central defensive midfielder, says Digamba. I don't really want him. He's going to cost though. Not for me. Jacob says Lingard simply has to go. Luke Shaw better in a back 3 than a back 4, says Russ. I agree with you, and for that reason he's not good enough, because he's not better than any of our centre-halves. So I'd rather play a centre-half in a 3 centre-halves than play Luke Shaw in there. If you have to accommodate a left full-back at left centre-back, then it's not for me, to be totally honest with you. Can you get hitting that like button, get commenting, get sharing, get subscribing, get joining? Thanks to those that have joined the channel in recent weeks and recent months as well. We're very, very close, to 150. We're like 110 now, and we've set the target of 200 by the end of August. So help us hit that target by hitting that join button. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing. We will be live at around half time of the Newcastle Manchester City game, when we'll have the FA Cup draw coming for you live. So make sure you keep it locked for that as well. But for now, guys, this has been the Aftermath Live. I have been AdamMcKola. Manchester United are going to Wembley in the FA Cup semi-final, and that's all that matters. And we'll find out who we get in the FA Cup draw a little bit later on today, right here and AdamMcKola TV. So make sure you're liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining. Hit that notifications button as well. And for now, I have been AdamMcKola. Every single last one of you have been legends. And for now, I'm out.